Is it time to pull the plug on artificial intelligence? Advances in AI have brought us some remarkable technological advances in recent years, some with life-saving applications like cancer screenings and climate change tracking. But then there are programs like ChatGPT, which has made headlines for launching into unsettling conversations with users, not to mention racial biases. Now, as AI's darker side comes into focus, a group of science, tech, and ethics experts are calling for a pause on new developments. In an open letter, more than 1,000 industry leaders, including Elon Musk and Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, write in part, recent months have seen AI labs locked in an out-of-control race to develop and deploy ever more powerful digital minds that no one, not even their creators, can understand, predict, or reliably control. So, the some 1,500 people who have signed the letter already are asking for AI labs to commit to a 6-month pause on all development. The letter continues, if such a pause cannot be enacted quickly, governments should step in and institute a moratorium. I'm joined now by one of the letter's signatories, Danielle Allen, a Harvard professor and director of the university's Edmund and Lily Safra Center for Ethics. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here, Jared. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, let's set the stage. First of all, I have not slept for about the last 3 months since I started really diving into this. Set the stage for us. 20 years from now, how are we going to be looking back at this very moment?
That is a great question, and I appreciate your comment about sleeplessness. There's a sense in which, for me, for others who've been in this space, this is kind of like the beginning of COVID again, to be honest. That is, the magnitude is so great, and things are moving so fast that people are trying really hard to figure it out. So I'm glad we're not the only sleepless ones, Jared. I'm sorry that you're in that category too, but you are not alone. I can tell you that. So in terms of how we'll think about it in 20 years, when I have the chance to be talking to technologists about what they say, they use really quite extraordinary metaphors. So for example, one that I recently heard was somebody said, it's like the invention of fire. So that is the significance that people are crediting to this, and they're right. So I tend to use the metaphors more like the invention of gunpowder or the invention of nuclear powder, or nuclear power rather, sorry. You know, these are both inventions that just changed what human beings could do in fundamental ways. Society changed around those technological developments. So this is really at that scale, and we should all be taking it very seriously.
So take us through the things that are most concerning to you, because we talk about this, and some of it I get has been kind of in joking terms, or terms that we don't seem to be so concerned about, that ChatGPT can write your resume, or it can write your biography, or it can help students cheat on their exams. Not that that's a light subject matter by any means, but what are some of the darker realms that we're facing here with the advancement of this technology?
So what has really happened is just that in the last month, we've seen a sea change in capability. So ChatGPT was one thing, but at the beginning of this month, OpenAI released GPT-4, which is at a whole different level of functionality. So ChatGPT, GPT-3, was able to perform at about sort of, say, the 10th or 25th percentile when you compared it against humans on LSAT or any other number of tests or the kind of work computer coders do. But it can now perform on par with the top professionals, in the field kind of across the board. So what does that mean for workforce, for example? We should probably expect some pretty serious layoffs, even or especially in the tech sector. I mean, that would be one really meaningful near-term impact. By the same token, though, so the person who used the metaphor of fire with me said about it that really, so fire, carbonizes, it takes carbon and, sort of turns it into energy. And what this does is take content and turn it into energy. And what does that mean exactly? It means anybody at this point with a digital footprint can be impersonated, okay? So ChatGPT has the capability of writing an op-ed in the style of Danielle Allen. I have a column for the Washington Post. It could write columns in my voice, and you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference. And so we are already living in a world that is just drowning in the problem of misinformation. It's about to get worse. That's the really scary thing.
So this letter has gone out. There's no reasonable expectation that this pause will happen. How is the tech world responding to it, especially when OpenAI and other big tech companies have decidedly walked away from this letter and have no intention of signing?
Well, I honestly think that it is time for governments to step up. I think the UN should be involved in this conversation, and that it's actually time for a global convention to establish a pause. And in that regard, I would use the analogy to nuclear power, right? Because the nuclear power was developed by governments in the middle of wartime. So there are all kinds of things we can say, all kinds of things we could critique about how that unfolded. But at the end of the day, there was a sort of pretty rapid period of trying to figure out global conventions for managing this force that had good things it could do. It could provide energy, for example, but then also obviously just existentially destructive things. And so in the same vein, this new technology, generative foundation models, large language learning models and the like, they can do lots of good for us. There's all kinds of ways they can complement and extend human capabilities in the same way that the Hubble telescope helps us see things that our eye can't see. So we want that power and we want to use it, but we really need to figure out how to put guardrails on the potential negative downstream consequences. So it is time for governments to step up and say, hey, tech companies, you don't get to decide this one. We need a pause.
Well, there are many people who point out that the politicians don't understand what's happening, let alone a lot of the people in the country. As we were talking just before we came on, I don't understand why this is buried in the business section of the pages and why this isn't front page news, which is why we're doing it on the top of the show tonight. But if governments around the world don't step forward, what does it mean for the first government or corporate entity that takes this and really manifests it in a huge way?
Yes, well, OpenAI, what they're doing with GPT-4 right now, I think honestly we can probably expect the functionality there to begin to be like a utility, something that every single person in the entire world is trying to use in the same way that we use electricity. So for starters, they're going to blow up as a massive company. They're going to make incredible profits. And if they're the sort of sole controller of something that's basically a utility for the entire globe, well, there you have a problem right there. So there's a lot to think about. How does the corporate sector engage here? How do we think about the impacts on politics because of the problem of misinformation, the issues for the workforce and the like? But, you said, why is this buried in the business pages? And I think that's a really important question. The answer is because the corporate sector is what has developed this. It has really been a private sector enterprise. And it is time for us to see that the public consequences are so significant that we need the public sector to step up, catch up, and be ready to help shape and to direct this.
What do we make of the speed of this? I think back to a story that I did at the MIT Museum, I think it was last fall, where I sat down and co-wrote a poem with an AI software. And I thought, well, isn't that cute? It teases out the creative aspect. And here we are 6 months later, and now we're seeing the darker realms, how we see that it has the possibility to disseminate disinformation. It tried to break up one columnist's marriage, but by the darker ways it was rooting around in his life. I mean, there are some very dark places this is going already, and it's far and away beyond what I experienced last fall because of the rapid development. What does this mean that we have to keep up with this pace?
Well, and here's how far it's spreading. My son, my 11-year-old son, a couple of weeks ago, asked me if he could get a $5 a month subscription to a service that would let him impersonate anybody's voice. Okay. And his reason was so that he could call the school and get excused from school using my voice. But, my 11-year-old is already getting the opportunity to take advantage of these technologies for, let's call them, nefarious purposes. So just imagine in the hands of genuinely bad actors where this could get.
And so finally, I will check ourselves a little bit. You don't think that we're being hysterical? There are a lot of people, as you pointed out as well, as we acknowledge, cancer, blindness, there are very good applications to this. There are people who say that we are being hysterical, that this is not a doomsday scenario. Any truth to that?
So I do think that these are good technologies and there's a lot of good they can do. So I'm not saying we don't need these. I am also a person who was a skeptic, for a long time. It's like, we're making way too much of AI and so forth. And what people really need to understand is that there has literally been a huge phase shift in the capability of the technology. That's the kind of lesson number one, most important takeaway. Today's AI is not Siri, all right? We have totally changed categories, and that's why we need to have a pause, get our arms around the magnitude of the capacity, and then proceed.
Well, Danielle Allen, you are such a great it is your voice on this, not your son's voice, but your voice on this.
That's right, exactly.
Thank you so much for
You
joining.
never know, though. All right. Thank you, Jared. Take care.
You too.